Hello, everybody. Today we watched The Many Saints of Newark, a Sopranos story. So, Aiden, what's the plot of The Many Saints of Newark?
Doesn't have one. So, Tony Soprano's uncle, Dickie, who was briefly mentioned in the show, marries an Italian girl after killing his dad, who was married to the Italian girl.
He doesn't marry her, it's his mistress.
A bunch of black people run around committing crimes, then they riot. His mistress gets blacked. They stand around doing things that I don't care about and hate. And then the movie mercifully ends. Connor, what'd you think of the Sopranos story? A Sopranos Rogue One, a Sopranos story, Many Saints of Newark.
I thought it was pretty weak. There wasn't much of a plot, as you said. It's just kind of Dickie doing stuff for 2 hours and then he dies.
Yeah.
I'm not the
I wouldn't
biggest
even call it
Sopranos
Dickie
fan.
doing stuff.
I don't have anything against Sopranos. I've just only seen like 2 episodes. So I was hoping for like a Scorsese style film, but Alan Taylor, director of Thor: The Dark World and Terminator Genesis, surprisingly couldn't deliver a compelling film. It was shot okay. Everything was really like blue filtered, like it's a movie from 2008. Which was kind of weird.
Yeah, they just washed all the color out of this bad boy.
I didn't mind young Tony Soprano. I didn't mind the actor of Dickie. Honestly, the acting wasn't that bad. There was just nothing to cling on to in the film. There was nothing intriguing happening throughout. It just kind of a
Young
bunch
Tony
of shit
Soprano
just
is
kind of
played
happened.
by James Gandolfini's son, Michael Gandolfini.
Yeah, I knew that. It's kind
Interesting novelty.
It's an interesting novelty, and he actually did a decent job in the role, but there wasn't anything going on in the fucking movie. There's nothing interesting. They don't really use Tony Soprano in any interesting way. There's a lot of like cornball moments, like when Dickie's son starts crying in front of Tony Soprano, and he's like, it's almost like you're gonna strangle him. In 2007's Sopranos season 8, episode 4, or whatever the fuck, you know, they like called it out basically.
Yeah, the old lady's
okay.
like, baby Christopher seems frightened of you because he can see the other side of the realm as babies can do, and he knows you're gonna strangle him in 20 years. Okay.
It's like, yeah, literally, that's pretty much the whole movie. It's like, okay.
And that's paired on top of the world's corniest wraparound where the ghost of Christopher tells the story of fucking some guy Christopher never met because he was a baby.
Yes. It's such a weird
Literally
convention.
The ghost, he's like, that's my grave. That's what
like, you know, Tony Soprano would tell the story if it wasn't for the fact that
James Gandolfini
passed away.
I don't think this would be made if James Gandolfini didn't pass away.
You don't think so?
Probably not, no. I don't.
You think James Gandolfini would be like, don't make the movie?
No, I think if they wanted to continue The Sopranos and James Gandolfini was alive, they would have fucking continued The Sopranos.
Oh, that's fair. I kind of understand the appeal of making a prequel, but it doesn't really tie into anything super...
It's barely a fucking prequel. There's like 4 minutes of The Sopranos in this.
Right. It just wasn't a very compelling gangster film. That's the biggest problem. And I like my gangster films. I love like Goodfellas. I even enjoyed fucking The Irishman enough for what it was. Even though I could look past the young man. I could look past the young 80-year-old man.
The young boy. The spry young child boy.
I do like the scene in The Irishman where he's supposed to be like in his early 30s and he's like really badly CGI'd and he's like kicking him.
Yeah,
just like it doesn't look like it. But no, The Irishman was okay. It's like you need like a good
character. One singular character.
Screenplay. You need something. You need
You
a
need
screen.
something to happen.
The biggest thing this movie needs is a screenplay where something happens. If it had that, I think the acting was there. I thought the directing was really bland and kind of bad, but what do you expect from an Alan Taylor movie? I don't know how Alan Taylor's made 3 world-class big franchise stinkers and still getting any fucking credibility and ability to make film. I think Alan Taylor should not make films. And yeah, overall, I was just sitting there super bored. Didn't know who any of the characters were. None of the characters were compelling. Besides it, I mean, coming from an outsider, none of the characters were compelling. I wasn't like, oh, that's that character, younger version or anything. It was just like, well, I've seen like 3 episodes, so I know who Tony Soprano is. There's Tony.
There he is.
I thought it was kind of funny that Ray, what the fuck is his name?
Ray Liotta.
I don't know why I forgot that now of all times, but I thought it was kind of funny that Ray Liotta played twins, even though, like, at first I was really confused why Ray Liotta was there. And, yeah, I mean, Ray Liotta is kind of a fun get, you know. Seeing Ray Liotta in gangster films is always a good time.
Except this time.
He's in a shit movie, but Ray Liotta was good enough. I don't even think the acting was that bad in this film. I don't really, like, want to take away from it on anything but, like, the screenplay and direction level. It's really just a really boring movie and not very well shot. But I thought the performances people were putting in performances that were pretty good. So, Aidan, what did you think of The Many Saints of Newark, a Sopranos story?
I need a stress puff. Bad movies, usually very fun to talk about. I'm mad. To put it lightly, my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
I'm the Sopranos fan here, and this is basically the opposite of the Sopranos in every conceivable way, and it's horrible. Number 1, The Sopranos is essentially an 80-hour character study of one guy who's very fucked up and pathetic and sad and bad. He's an awful person, and we get literally no characters in this movie. Literally no one has a character. We don't explore any characters. The advertising for this movie is plastered with how Tony Sopranos became the man he is, and he's barely in the movie. We don't see that, and he has nothing to do. The movie itself feels like 2 half-finished movies squished together, one of which is a bad Sopranos prequel where some guy who was never on the show does stuff, I guess. To call it stuff is generous because he kills his dad and then stands around and then kills his girlfriend. And the other half is a movie about the Newark riots to intentionally parallel current modern world events, which makes it come off very preachy and tacky and boring. It doesn't really tackle the subject matter in an interesting way. It tackles it, in fact, horribly, I would say. I don't know a lot about the Newark riots in real life, but in the movie's depiction, there's a black guy in a car and 2 cops come and say, "Hey, N-word," and start beating him. And then there's riots and they say, but the riots are good actually because racism bad. The movie spends half of its time flip-flopping between 2 non-plots of people just standing around doing nothing. Lots of doing nothing, lots of nothing happening. People don't even talk about maybe doing something in the future. It's just people standing around. There's a ton of horrible fucking scenes just interlaced in there that I don't understand the purpose of, like the horrible baby Christopher scene, which is Just so awful.
This is a real check your watch type of movie.
A real fucking check my fucking brain because I feel like it's leaking something, some sort
Well,
of fucking.
Can't we at least be a little thankful that it wasn't 2 hours 45 minutes like every other Italian gangster movie?
Yeah, thank God.
Like, you know that they thought about it and they're like, okay, this is a stinker, Alan Taylor. We're gonna
really
have to rely
just-
on the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, pretty much. The movie feels very disingenuous. I feel like the movie should have gone either direction and either not been a Sopranos movie and been about the Newark riots, in which case I wouldn't have seen it. Sorry. Or
I might have seen it, but I would have.
Or it should have been a movie that is actually about how Tony Soprano became who he is, because the entire time he spends his entire movie about how he became who he is, not doing that at all,
thug or anything.
until literally the last second of the movie, which is even more contrived as an arc than Anakin becoming Darth Vader by murdering children. Really should have been, I guess, like an ensemble movie about the younger versions of characters doing things, maybe. I don't know. It probably wouldn't have been good regardless, but it might have had something happen. Or had like a plot, action, or something. Pretty much the only good thing I can say. I think the relationship between Tony and his mother is handled well. She's a very important character early on in the show. Her and her narcissism. And I like seeing the roots of that narcissism a little. I think that is portrayed well and almost drifts into the territory of the show, but not nearly as well. And everything else is boring, random scenes. Sometimes the movie just feels like it was edited randomly, and apparently this is the trimmed version with more random shit cut out. 1 second there's a fucking scene of them shooting someone, and then the next moment it cuts to fucking
Baby Christopher scared of Tony.
baby Christopher's scared of Tony, and then it cuts to Dickie's wife getting blacked, and it just like jumps around to just seemingly inconsequential things. The villain, I don't know if he's the villain, he's more the protagonist than Dickie is half the time, but the fucking Henry, the black criminal guy, just disappears from the movie after he shotguns like 4 major characters to death, and then he's just not in the movie ever again until the post-credits scene where his neighbor's like looking at him funny, and I think you're supposed to be like, oh man, that's so sad, his neighbors are racist against him, but then he pulls out a giant wad of cash and starts slinging crack on the street, and it's like, oh, okay, well yeah, no wonder his neighbor's looking at him funny, because he's fucking slinging crack on the block right next to the fucking playground. I have no idea what this movie's trying to say. I have no idea what it's trying to be. It's boring. It's fucking ugly. It looks like they took... It literally doesn't even look like they attempted color grading. It looks like they took a plain gray background and then slightly lowered the transparency and placed it over the entire top of the movie. It looks fucking horrendous. Thank you, Thor the Dark World and Terminator Genesis Man. It's boring, it sucks, it completely shits all over The Sopranos. It's essentially the exact opposite of The Sopranos in every conceivable way, and it's horrible, and I hate it. So yeah. Yeah, The Saints of New York, the many... whatever the fuck. Rogue One is terrible. Connor, would you recommend The Many Saints of Newark?
No, for someone who wasn't Sopranos fan, I was sitting there and I was like, do something the whole time. I was staring at my watch, I was fucking bored. I don't get bored by movies easily, so I thought it was a real stinker. It's gonna fall right in the 2021 pile of stinkers. It's me swishing it into the stinker bucket along with Venom 2 and
The Forever Purge.
F9. There's a big stinker bucket for 2021, and this is going in it. So, Aiden, what did you think, or would you recommend The Many Saints of Newark?
No, especially not if you like The Sopranos. Don't watch this fucking bullshit lying advertisement, fucking whatever the fuck it is. Someone disguising their shitty movie as a Sopranos movie.
Okay, but is the Entourage movie better?
I don't think I've seen the Entourage movie.
Oh, I saw the Entourage.
I've seen the show,
movie.
I don't think I've seen the movie.
The Entourage movie is the same thing as the show. It's just like, hey, Vinny, nice job on the new Aquaman movie. And he's like,
I think I'd prefer that to I want an hour and a half episode of The Sopranos to be in theaters. This is not that. This is fucking diarrhea horse dude.
That's what Entourage, the movie, was an hour and a half episode of Entourage, so take that as you will.
Take that over this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
me singing the Entourage theme song. Okay, play the Entourage theme song over the credits. Not the Sopranos theme song for some reason. Get prepared for our drunk view of the sinful dwarf that Porno
right.
accidentally bought.
Yeah, Connor accidentally bought a porno. So that'll be the 1,000 subscriber special. Happy 1,000.
Yep.
It's a movie about a midget who rapes women or something.
I don't know exactly. All I know is Letterboxd categorized it in the porn section. It's about, from what I've read, the blurb I've read, it's about a little dwarf who kidnaps and drugs women and then forces them to have sex with a bunch of men until they die of syphilis. 1,000 subscribers special. Double feature with Aquaman.
Put it in the theater.
Watch it in the theater. The theater.
Oh yeah, you have to make the White Sox Aquaman.
The 1,000 Drunkview special. You gotta play a really shitty video game for the 1,000 subscribers special.
Should play the movie, the game.
Alright, I guess those are 1,000 subscribers specials. Aquaman, Street Fighter, the game, and a fucking porno about a dwarf that drugs women and has them fuck until they get syphilis and die.